on Monday, June 24th, 2019, currently located at the Pima County Sheriff's Department Administration Building. And talking with me today is Mr. Sean O'Connell. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. So here's the thing, like I almost feel bad making you, I shouldn't say making you wanted to come down
Yep.
there. So I've seen a lot of the videos. So one of the questions is the video that's posted on your channel, and I don't know if you've seen the other channels' videos, are those the raw, unedited?
Yes,
Okay.
they go straight from the phone directly to the internet. They don't even get saved to the phone. They upload straight to YouTube
and then gets posted.
Yep.
Okay.
It's actually live, so it's streaming literally second by second straight to the internet.
Right.
So people are watching as it was happening.
And to my understanding, that was the only time or the only interaction that you've had recently.
Yeah, it's the only time I've ever been there.
Okay. All the people that are in the video, is that the only ones, or were there people off in the outside of the view of the camera that had contact with you, in which their demeanor, their conduct?
Nope. The only people I had contact with that were there were the corrections deputies.
Okay. Do you remember their names by chance?
Frazier was one of them, and then Lopez, I believe, was the other one.
Okay.
I know Frazier was a sergeant, I believe, and Lopez did have stripes on his sleeve. Not sure if it was lieutenant or sergeant.
Okay.
Or what the actual rank was.
And again, any of your involvement with them would have been recorded?
Yep.
Okay. And so nothing outside of that?
Nope, nothing outside of that. Yep. It's there's actually 2 videos on my page, because there's the one from when we first went in, and Mr. Gonzalez was told, that he had to stop recording, and then he was asked to leave. I got up and walked. At that point, Frazier had still never addressed me yet, and I was sitting next to Mr. Gonzalez. I got up and went walking with Mr. Gonzalez towards the door. At that point, I started asking, Frazier asked me if I was recording. I told him, yes, I am. And, we all went walking out towards the door. Him and Mr. Gonzalez had some words back and forth. I was, as you can see in my video, very cordial. Was asking Officer Frazier, Deputy Frazier, this is a public lobby. I'm not bothering anybody. I should be able to record in here. I've called the sheriff's department and asked about this.
And they tell you,
and he's like, well, you're violating the civil rights of the civilians that are in here.
Okay.
And he's like, well, they don't have the civil right to privacy, but okay. But I wasn't going to sit there and debate it and argue back and forth. So we left. They had called a deputy in. He walked into the building, talked to whoever inside. I'm not sure who.
But again, we don't know who. Right?
Yeah, I'm not sure who he talked to inside. He came back out. Mr. Gonzalez and Miss Westwood approached the deputy's SUV and asked him, Mr. Gonzalez said he was trying to file a complaint. Can you go in there and file a complaint? And he's like, yep, you can go in there as long as you don't disturb anybody, you don't bother anybody. Miss Westwood asked if we could go in there, if we could record in there as well. And he said, yep, you can record in there, just don't bother the business.
Right.
So me and Mr. Gonzalez go back in first. Miss Westwood's right behind us. I go off to the right and start recording. Mr. Gonzalez stands at the little round table that's there, and he's just standing there talking to his iPad and the people that are in his live chat, waiting for the line to go down so he can get back up to the desk. I walk back over towards that side of the lobby. I'm pointing out the window at the flags. Frazier and Lopez came out of the side door right there and directly started to confront Mr. Gonzalez, telling him he had to leave, he had to get out of there, the deputies were coming, he was being trespassed, he was going to be under arrest, etc., etc. Never directs any of it towards me, even though I'm standing right there recording. I don't say anything. We get outside. I'm like, that other deputy just told us that we could come back in. And he's like, well, he doesn't understand that there's civilians here and that you're violating the civil rights of the civilians. Once again. And then a couple other deputies show up. Lieutenant Lappin, I believe, she shows up. She makes a couple phone calls and whatnot. So I'm standing there away from the confrontation, away from everybody, kind of recording from a distance, and have the whole group in the frame. I'm far enough back that I've got 5 people in shot.
Yeah.
Not saying anything to anybody at the time. Lieutenant Lappin, we tell them, hey, this deputy, because then I believe it's Kennard, showed back up. He was one of the arresting officers, though, but he's the one that originally responded. Okay. He showed back up. We're like, he told us that we'd go back in as long as we didn't disturb anybody. We didn't go in there. We didn't talk to anybody. Didn't, put the cameras in anybody's faces, no nothing. We're just waiting for the line to die down and to record it. So she asked him exactly where she went and finished talking on the phone and then asked him exactly what he said. He said, I told them that if they wanted to file a complaint, they could file a complaint. If they wanted to come in here and record, they could record to their heart's desires as long as they don't disturb the business. Lieutenant Lappin gets back on the phone. Mr. Gonzalez had walked away at that point and left the property and broke away from the entire encounter. Miss Westwood was still talking to Officer Frazier, and I was waiting for Lieutenant Lappin to get off the phone to see what she found out from her supervisors, whoever she was on the phone with. As soon as she got off the phone, she went right to Miss Westwood and put your hands behind your back, under arrest. Said, "Oh, give me your phone," because phones get broken a lot of times. When you get arrested, they get smacked out of hand. Instead, "Give me your phone." And Lieutenant Lappin said, "You're under arrest also." At which point I'm like, I didn't even do anything. I didn't curse, didn't raise my voice. I did nothing but literally record. And I asked some inquisitive questions of Frazier and didn't debate them back and forth with him or anything like that at all. I didn't talk to anybody inside the building except for the officers. Even there was a civilian employee at the desk that came over and told Mr. Gonzalez when we first went in, before Frazier and a couple other officers came down, that he couldn't record the kiosk. Well, he was using it. Nobody else at the kiosk, so nobody's even putting in personal information. He's just recording like the.
Well, because there were two women that were there before, and there was a delay. So, and that's in your video. Yeah. So that's the reasoning for coming up. But yes, when Mr. Gonzalez went up there and was still doing it, that's when the conversation took place. But there were two women before you, correct, that were at the kiosk.
I'm not sure. I wasn't focused on the kiosk at that time. Right. Mr. Gonzalez was over there. I sat down in the chairs across from the kiosk and was just waiting for the supervisors to come down so he could file his complaint.
Right.
That's when the guy from the desk came over and told him he couldn't record the equipment, and he was literally the only one that was standing there at that time that I remember. Recall. And he said, I'm just recording. There's no personal information on here or whatever. I was like, well, you can't record in the building. You can't.
That's what the employee said?
Yes, the guy at the front desk.
Okay, and that's the really tall guy?
Yeah. Big, chunky, stocky black guy. Yep. You can't record in the building, and you can't record it. You can't record the equipment. Okay. At this time, Frazier and a couple of other officers, I'm not sure if Lopez was there yet, but there was three of them that were kind of like huddling together over to the right of the front desk there. And you could tell that they were getting ready to come over and, say something other than just take a complaint. But Officer Frazier told Mr. Gonzalez that he'd be happy to take a complaint, but he had to turn his camera off and record.
Okay.
At that point, Mr. Gonzalez was told that he was going to be trespassed if he didn't stop recording. And he said, well, and that's where Mr. Gonzalez, got some tone and like, no, I can record it here. Like,
put that.
Sorry. Well, because I was going to say aggressive, but it wasn't aggressive for, anything.
Your perception of it wasn't aggressive, but it was an elevated tone.
Yes. It was, I'm trying to file a complaint. I should be able to record this. This is a public lobby. It's paid for by taxpayers. It's not a private area. He's like, well, people are out here with private information. He's like, you can take them into a back room. You shouldn't be getting private information from people out in the middle of an open lobby anyway, even if there are no cameras. Somebody could have an audio recorder in their pocket. So you should take them to the back if that's really what your concern is. So, so he told Mr. Gonzalez he had to stop recording and he'd be glad to take his complaint. Mr. Gonzalez said he wasn't going to stop recording. And that was when he said he was going to be trespassed. They argued back and forth a little bit about it. And then in order to avoid being trespassed and arrested, he got up and I followed him out the door. And they had some more back and forth outside. And, I just stayed off to the side and documented it. Yeah. So, when recording is allowed in there and nobody was saying anything, giving anybody any lip or anything, the only person that had a problem was the person at the front desk.
Okay.
And he came over and said something to Mr. Gonzalez. Other than that, there was nothing said to anybody until about a minute and a half later when Deputy Frazier and the other two officers, minus one, came over and approached them, told them, that's fine, you can file a complaint, but you gotta stop recording, or he's going to trespass.
And to your recollection, you don't remember, or I shouldn't say it this way, to your recollection, did you ever overhear anyone at the front desk complaining So people that were there
Yeah.
doing business, did you ever hear or overhear any of them
No.
complaining about the presence of the cameras?
Nope. And
Okay.
Mr. Gonzalez actually walked up to the front desk, was standing there talking to one of the civilian people, about filing a complaint and
Right,
getting a
and making
supervisor
the
down.
request.
And somebody actually left their ID on the kiosk because I went over to the kiosk first.
And that got turned in.
And I turned that in.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm not there to be a dick or anything else. I'm there to just record and make sure that I can record. And there's been phone calls before that. There's phone calls after that. There's YouTube videos out there where other people have called here to verify the recording in that lobby is okay, and it's still the same thing. You can record as long as you don't do anything. So I'm still confused as to why I was arrested for trespass and disorderly conduct when I obviously wasn't disorderly, didn't raise my voice, wasn't bothering anybody, nothing.
So, aspects of the criminal
Mhm.
case, okay, that's going to be for you,
Yeah.
your attorney, go through that portion of it. My office will do a thorough review of the incident itself. I don't reinvestigate the case, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
What I do is, again, I review the conduct and the procedures of the department employees and stuff. So what my office does is I compile a report, bless you. I compile a report, and then I go to executive review. And so the bosses of all these people, they get together and they determine whether or not there's policy, training, you name it, conduct, demeanor, if there's violations of that. They're the ones that determine that. My office does not. And then once that decision is made, it's now sent through the chain of command as to recommendations for the discipline.
Okay.
So once that goes through the chain, the sheriff either concurs or enlists his own. That can be anything from a documented verbal counseling to being dismissed. That means fired,
Okay.
gone. Okay.
I'm not sure if you've seen the incident report or not, but do you know if every officer involved was listed or where I would get
That
that
I have
information
not
from?
looked at yet. There are several hours worth of video that
Okay.
I'm going
Yep.
through. And like I described with Miss Westwood, is that because of so many hours, me personally as an investigator, I like to, I review it, but I review it more than once because sometimes you hear or you see things that you don't see initially because you're so focused on certain things. So I watch it multiple times. So if there's 4 hours of video, I can guarantee you that I'm watching at least 3 times. So that would be 12 hours worth of stuff. I asked for about 2 months. Give me about 2 months because this isn't my only function in this agency.
Okay.
I also do another thing that requires a lot of time, and I'm not always in the office. So when you try to contact me, leave a message, and then I just get back to you as soon as I can.
Okay,
But
cool.
plus, there's only 2 commissioned officers
Yeah,
in my office too, where we have 2 COs and 2 commissioned officers.
Okay.
But the case is likely going to stay with me or go to the other commissioned officer to do a review. And then, but he and I both, again, we have 2 duties. And so if he's in, I'm out, or
Yeah,
vice
exactly.
versa, right?
Yeah. I know when I called the other day, you were like, my other guy's leaving, and I've already got some
I'm
people
sorry,
talk
like
to.
I would
Yeah.
have loved to
I
have
told
you
him, I
come
said,
down.
it was like
you know.
3:30, you guys closed at
You know.
5, I get it.
And like I said, and I kind of feel bad because I know I didn't mention it when we were on the phone, but I know you felt more eager to come here, which is fine. But like I said, I hate to see you come down here for 20 minutes or 30 minutes and then go.
I just moved down over by the airport, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so not too far away.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
10, 15 minutes. So.
What's the best way to reach you?
203
Uh-huh.
260 3648.
Okay.
And then do you guys, I know some police departments don't, do you guys release the internal affairs report after they're done, or do you guys keep them confidential?
No. So to my understanding of it, and I explained this to Miss Westwood too, is that it would be releasable upon its finality.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so when that happens, so let's say somebody, whatever discipline that may come, if they appeal